YouTube, welcome back to the Allegheny Northern in N-scale. And based on last week's video and the interactions that we all had on some basic scenery, I thought, well, you know what, it's probably only fitting that we do a follow-up video on that. And what we're going to talk about today is basic scenery land, we're going to call it not modeling, but massing, I guess, is probably the best word for it. So I'm going to show you how I form some general terrain when, I don't need to necessarily cut the foam away. I need to sort of build up some general features. So we're going to do that next. But this video is going to have a lot of things in it. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. And first thing I want to do is I want to tell you that I know, even though that Altoona is just around the corner here next weekend, I did pick myself up a 3-pack of those Athearn acid cars. And it's because they are the striped ones, the white and the black ones. I don't know why, but I really like these tankers with the black stripe down the center. There's no other reason other than I don't know. I like them. They're cool, look cool. So, the last ones that I reviewed were really awesome, so I was glad to pick up another one. I wanted to put to bed an old topic you talked about, I think about a year ago here, and whether that was model railroading is a toy or not. And right here, Athearn has pretty much put it in print. It's not a toy. So, okay, anyone still struggling with that? And okay, I mentioned that Altoona is coming up, and many of you have said you're going to be there, and you hope to run into me. Well, let me tell you, if you do see me, I am probably going to be the only idiot wearing the official Allegheny Northern t-shirt. Yes, that's right, the official Allegheny Northern t-shirt with the Railroad's logo on it. And if you are interested in also having an Allegheny Northern shirt or hat or sticker or any of those sort of things, you can purchase them from the Redbubble link down below. This was designed by my brother, who is an illustrator and does dabble into some corporate marketing from time to time, and this is something that he put together for me. So yes, that is the AN official logo with the SD40-2 front end there, because who doesn't like an SD40-2? So if you see that shirt, chances are probably going to be me. So stop by and say hello. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I almost didn't do a video this week, and it's been a really challenging week. And that's not it. There was a lot going on at work, just a lot of just end of year family stuff. Of course, there was the anniversary of 24-year anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. So that's always kind of a rough thing to go through, because everybody's got their 9/11 specials, and it's important not to forget it. It's important to see those things and to remember and to have that sort of re-imaged in your mind, so that you don't forget and you don't forget those folks. But it doesn't get any easier to watch those videos. So that was going on, and then of course we had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And this is not going to be a political video. That's not what this channel is for. But it really showed how evil some people are, and how some of these monsters were acting to the death of a husband and a father and somebody who they just disagreed with. And there's a special place in hell for all of those people. And my only, I guess, solace is that I know that at the end of time, they will find that out. And that's my solace, and that's my take on it. So we can be better people, and I encourage us all to be better people. And just because somebody has a difference of opinion than you, that's okay, because if we were all the same, it would be really, really boring. But we have different opinions, and we have different ways of dealing with things. And if you are not somebody who can deal with that, then you need to go get help, because the problem is you and not the other person. And there's plenty of places that you can get that help. But even here in model railroading, this is one of the great things about the model railroading community on this channel in particular is most of you guys are very not gonna say well behaved. You're very human, right? You have a real interest, you have a real passion, and you come here with intentions of just sharing that passion, sharing that life, enjoying this hobby for what it is, the greatest hobby in the world. And that is really awesome. Yeah, every now and then you get a douchebag that comes on here and has got to just be an ass about something. And you can tell pretty much when I respond to somebody that I think is being an ass because I'm an ass back. You know, they say that you never stoop down to somebody else's level because they'll drag you down and then they'll beat you with experience. No, you're not. No, you're not. I can be the biggest asshole in the room. It's comes with my job description. I can really be a mean person. I don't like to be the mean person. I really try to not to be that mean person, but every now and then you'll see somebody post something and I will answer, and it's usually very sarcastic and very pointed and you know, don't throw stones. I think one of the biggest problems we have in our society is there's a lot of people who have hidden behind a keyboard and hidden behind a screen, and they've never gotten into a real situation where they said something to somebody and that somebody challenged them in person. Because I'll tell you what, if that's happened to you, you're a lot more careful with what you say and how you say it, and you have a lot more facts, and you're not going to go throwing stones if you don't know what stones are coming back at you. So, you know, I think that for the most part, all of us need to go out. We need to touch grass. We actually need to have some human interaction and learn how to be people again, because technology, the technology I'm using right now, YouTube and this camera, you know, they isolate us and they put that barrier between us, and then all of this bravado comes out because everybody thinks they're protected by the screen, and even that's not the case anymore now. You know, it's amazing how you can post something online and within hours, people know who you are, where you live, where you work, your entire family. Like, you are not hidden behind a screen anymore. So we just need to be better people. That we can do that. It is one of those things that it's not hard to do. It's not hard to be a good person. It's actually harder to be a jerk, and because you have to go out of your way to do that. But being a nice person is the natural default setting for most of us. And so if you just go back to that, you get a great channel like we have here, and you get great people like we have here. And if you apply that to other places other than YouTube and other than model railroading, you'd be surprised how well things go. Okay, so that's the end of my lecture. Be better people. Just be better people. And let me show you this building. So this is the building. I just put this together. I had a lot of fun with it. No, I didn't record it, but I just wanted to build a building. I haven't done that in so long. It was kind of exciting. So this industry is the one that's going to go here. I did reconfigure this track a little bit to align with this building. This is, I believe it's the car shop, and you can build it either as half the building or the full building. I built it as the full building. I wanted the whole side there, and I'm going to just zoom in here for you just a second and show you the Reardon Rail Corporation, a Reardon Steel Industry. So I made these decals. You know, cool thing. This decal here, design, that is AI. Yeah, I just put some prompts into ChatGPT and it created that image for me. Put it on some decal paper, and boom, there you go. Then this Reardon Steel Company or Steel Industry down below is just something that I created in Word. That wasn't anything crazy. Because I don't have photo editing software. I don't really get into that. That's more of my brother's territory than it is mine. But if you recall, the whole reason that I was doing that, I'm going to take you off the tripod here for a minute and just take you for a spin around. The whole reason I was doing that was because I had, of course, this industry that was going to be a steel industry. I have this industry up here that's going to be part of the steel industry. And then the start of all of that, I'm just going to bring you around here, was to the original Reardon Steel. And so there we go, Reardon Steel and the Reardon Steel Industry that was here that pretty much sparked all of that, right? And we talked about how cars are going to shuffle between the industries, but this was the main plant, and then I had those other industries. And so it's, you know, a lot of times when those bigger companies do things, they break off into separate entities, separate companies, because they have liability reasons and whatnot. So yes, it is Reardon Rail Corporation, and it's where they're going to take the Reardon steel and make rail out of it. So this is going to be the industry for that. Okay, but what we're talking about today is we are talking about how we're going to mask this scenery and what we use for that. So this has been one giant take here, so that's not too bad. But you will see different products. We're going to use celluclay because it was readily available and I could get it. I don't like this product as much as I like the I'm trying to think of the other stuff. That'll come to me. But it is a paper mache type product that is pretty much used to fill in all the gaps of scenery and build up scenery. It's not plaster. Okay, it's not plaster. It's more of a paper mache than anything. So when you're building scenery and you need to bulk up and you need to bulk up fast, you can use foam, right? Because the foam glues down. You can shape it. You can cut it. It's lightweight. Doesn't So that's really the way to do it. But if you need to just do some little bit of shaping, this kind of material is the way to go. Now, you don't want to use plaster because plaster is heavy and plaster doesn't really stick to this foam very well, okay? And so what we want to do here is we've got the industry, and the industry obviously needs to come up because, it's sitting lower than the rails, right? So that doesn't look realistic. So we need to build a building pad. Okay, and then we need to sort of form this scenery a little bit, right? So we're going to have a relatively level area, but we're probably going to have some parking lots and some wear areas where trucks are moving and equipment's moving. So we want to model that in the base scenery so that when we come in here with our terrain and our different flocks and all that sort of stuff, that all follows that basic scenery. And we can do it relatively easy. I'm just going to show you how I do it. There's a lot of different ways you can try to do this all in the foam. It's going to be a lot more time consuming and probably a lot more messy even if you have a hot wire cutter like I do. But this is a different way to do it. So let me just show you how. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take my carpenter's pencil, and that's just one of these little guys. I don't, you can use a marker or whatnot, and I just mark where the track wants to lay out, and I mark the edge of the building so that I have something to work off of. And then I make the paper mache. This is the celluclay stuff, and here's, I told you I didn't like this as much as I like some of the other products, and here's why. It takes a lot of water, and it doesn't seem like it mixes well. Then all of a sudden it's like oversaturated. It takes forever to dry, and it seems to expand and contract a lot more than some of the other products that are available. So it works. You just got to be a little more careful with it. Don't get it on your track road bed because it will pull it out of alignment. So it's just something to keep in mind. But it's readily available, and I have noticed that the price goes up considerably on this stuff. It used to be like, I think this is a 5-pound bag. It's a 5-pound bag, and it used to be like $29.99. Now it's $39.99, so $10. And I know everything's more expensive, but like it's going up in price. Okay, so you can use tools to do this. I prefer to use my hand. It's the best tool that you have on staff for this project. So if you want to get a little more fine detail, the knife is not a bad way to go. But for what we're going to do here, just real quick, this is the way to do it. So if this is not like the hydrocal, where if you get it on your hands, you can run the risk of burning yourself, because hydrocal produces holds in heat and produces heat as it's hydrating. This stuff doesn't. It's just paper mache and it's kind of a regular plaster kind of deal. If you have extremely sensitive hands, you are probably a city boy, and you just need to put some gloves on to do this. If your hands are so calloused over that you don't feel them anymore, then you probably can just work right along here. It does, make a mess, so you will want to, clean that off before you touch anything. But whatever you got to do, and you can see how I'm just, it's obviously me forcing it here is moving the track a little bit. So we'll just make sure that's in place before we walk out. I'm not going to put anything in the middle. I actually want to move this towards the back here so I can kind of get this all in. Now, depending on what you want to do with the scenery, will depend on how you, how you mask this, as far as like, do I want this to be higher than the main line? What am I calling attention to? And basically, in this case, no, but we're gonna work it out until we get it where we want it. Now you are noticing this is kind of sliding across the top of the the smooth foam, so you do have to kind of like knead it into place almost. But once it's kneaded into place and it's kind of all together, it'll stop pulling up on you, and it'll stick, and that will give you the opportunity to kind of position it how you want it. Now, in this case, it's one of the rare instances where I actually adhered this track to the layout board, so it's not going to move. The siding obviously is not adhered. Probably should have done that in this case, but we're going to work with it how we have it. And I'm just kind of getting the idea of the shape that I want for this. And depending on how much, depending on what you're doing, scraping this stuff out to have exposed board is not necessarily bad. Like if that's the elevation you need, then just show the board. Or if you need to go deeper and dig out some of that board, whatever it is. Like I'm just saying, this is how you're going to want to do that. And if you just sort of smooth this out, you can get to the general shape that you want. And you notice how it's kind of clumpy over here. If you're going to put plaster over this, then that's okay. Like you can put additional layers of like hydrocal over this if you're going to do, say, a road or something. But if you're just going to make this your scenery base, you can also mix paint in here if you want to. Although I found that tends to eat a lot of paint up, so I don't recommend it because it sort of gets absorbed into this plaster, and then it's just easier to let it dry and then paint it afterwards. So my recommendation. But okay, you can kind of see that we're getting some basic shape here. So here's what I want to go with. I want this scenery to be built up almost to the track level here. Okay, I want it to be built up almost to the track level. And that way the building has something to sit on and it's not sitting down below the track. If I need to shim it up a little bit more, I can do that. But I also want to make sure that there's no gaps, because I'm going to have to do some interior scenery. Like I'm going to have to do some styrene for the interior floor. So you are going to be able to look into this industry and see, what's going on inside. So I don't want to have it just unscenic in there. But then after that, I'm going to come out, and this is going to be equipment area and storage, where some of the rail that's ready to go out is going to be. And I'm just going to sort of smooth this all out into the general shape of where I want it to be. And then we're going to take from here, we're going to take the palette knife again, and we're going to do some final grading. I am going to pull this away from the main line here because I don't want it to, when it dries, I don't want it to pool. Like I said, it's going to stick and it's going to pool, and there's just no way to do that if it's attached to it. So just trust me. I've worked with this stuff enough to know that it's going to suck, and I'm not going to like the end result. Okay. The lumpier you leave this, the lumpier your terrain will be unless you cover over it. So, you can get it pretty smooth. It's not like road texture smooth, if that's what you want to do. But it gets fairly close. Like you can kind of really work it until it's pretty well leveled out. If you get it somewhere that you don't want it, like in the rail, you can kind of wipe that off real quick. But if it gets like on the ties and stuff, my recommendation to you is to let it dry and then take it off, because otherwise you just end up smearing it all over the place, and it just makes things way worse. But okay, so here we go. I kind of have this set up the way I want it to look. So I'm just bringing it down towards the main line so that there's like a little ditch there. And then I'm going to keep sort of feeding this over. Now, if you have areas where the terrain is perfectly smooth and you don't need this buildup, then you can just go back to your regular board and not worry about, having any of this crap down. But, all depends on what you're trying to do with your scenery, I guess. The thicker you make it, the longer it takes to dry. Also, the wetter you make it, but the wetter you make it, the smoother you can get it. So, I know, once again, some of you people like recipes and you want to exactly how I'm going to do it. Well, I don't know. I mix it until it looks like it's going to spread for me, and then that's where I leave it. So just, sort of season to taste on that, and it'll work, trust me. If you screw up a batch and it gets too watery, or it's not, you can always add more, I guess, to try to dry it up, but eventually it just becomes a game of you chasing the amount of water in it. Okay, so that is probably about as smoothed out as I'm going to get it. And it's probably about as smoothed out as I'm going to want it to, honestly. Now, here's where the actual texturing sort of is going to come in. And I always kind of work it in one direction if I can. You'll just, it's like when you color, right? You always color in one direction. And so I'm kind of working in one direction so I can keep pushing the excess material that I'm skimming off in the direction that I want to work. That way it's, I don't end up with a big pile over here that I don't need. I can just kind of keep working it this way. So, okay. It's probably enough of me spreading this out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my hands so that I don't have this stuff on it. And then I'm going to pick up my model, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use that. Okay, so now that the model is in place as to where it's going to end up, once it's on the layout, I can see where the doors are. So that's going to be a road area, and I know that this area is where this crane is going to sit. So I want to get that sort of extra smooth, but also I want to put in sort of a drive pattern. And if you have different size palette knives, you can also do this a little bit better. But I am going to just use this one. And so this crane is going to sit like this, right? So trucks would probably be driving in here, right? They'd be driving in this way. And then they'd be probably doing some kind of funky turn back here. Okay, so it's gonna make this a little more wild over here and a little more smooth here. But see how I'm getting that general texture in as to how this is going to go. And that's going to be my marker for when I come in with my scenery. It's going to be my marker for where, this is where the gravel goes. This is where there would be some grass. This would be, so we're just going to get this sort of leveled out here because this is, and then it's probably going to have some traffic maybe going across the track here. But I'm starting to build that texture in, and then from there I can sort of make the scenery change a little bit, right? So now I can move this over because my raised building area is kind of here. So this area is not going to have traffic. This area is going to have traffic. And you can see that this stuff has an incredibly long working time, okay? That is one key benefit of it. You can work on this for a really, really long time. But you can see that I'm not getting totally detailed shape, right? Like it's sort of just the idea of what this scenery is going to look like. So it's a little bit higher here where this road is, and then it falls off into some other area, probably an unkept sort of grassy area, maybe just where some debris is at or stored. And the effects can be subtle. It's just going to help you with your scenery. So what's going on right here? Nothing, probably. It's probably just going to be an area where, truck traffic's going by here. So this area is probably all kind of flattened out. And then we got some nonsense back here where these trucks are turning around. You know, but when you come back into this area, not going to be any trucks back here. So this area is going to be a little bit less maintained, I guess. You know, and this is going to be an indication for us where some sidewalks should be. We can make sure that we have this all sort of leveled out. And there's a door right there, so traffic would be coming out this way. And, okay, so then it's going to go back across the tracks here. But we've basically put in our parking lot area. If you come to the end of your, I'll say your pour here, right? And you're got to add more. You want to sort of leave yourself a smooth, like you don't want, like, see how this is kind of rough down here. We don't want to leave this rough because it's going to dry like that. And then that is what we're going to be left with. And then you got to either take it out or, you know, do something with it. In this case, we're probably not going to have to extend this texture any further. So we're just going to sort of fade it out, make it nice and smooth, and we're done. Here we have our road coming up to what'll be a crossing in front of the facility. We have this higher area, which is going to either be grass or it could just be a little bit higher scenery. You're not getting truck traffic. So if we're going to add some ruts and whatnot, I'm not going to do it in this layer. But now you can see how this scenery is going to line up with the building. And then we're just going to take this right here. Like so. Okay. And so I'm going to actually change the angle here a little bit so you can kind of get an idea what this looks like. So if I just bring you around the corner, you can kind of see that we've got this nice smooth area here. You can see where we're going to have some rougher terrain, so that's going to be either grass or dirt piles or something. This is all smooth, and there's going to be some ruts back here. But now the basic terrain is in, and the basic massing is there. And so once this dries, we can go ahead and get it ready for scenery. Now, the one thing that I will recommend that you do, like I said, you just want to take, you can do it with a knife, you can do it with the tool of your choice, and just separate this stuff from your track. Trust me, you're gonna want it. And yeah, it leaves a little bit of a funk on the edge here, so just sort of tap that back down. Try not to get it to stick again. But if it does, you can just go ahead and repeat that process. Just keep it away from your track. If your track is fully adhered to the layout, then you might be okay, but I still wouldn't. Like I said, this stuff shrinks crazy when it dries, and I don't want to deal with that nonsense. Okay, so that is us. That is how our scenery is going to go and how I'm going to finish the rest of this area. It is just one of the techniques that you can use. Once again, you can always go back and just do foam stuff here if you wanted to. But this gives me a little bit, it's easier to work with. It does add weight, so, you know, if you're on an upper layer, be careful. Otherwise, it's a great way to do it. For those of you heading to Altoona, I will see you next weekend.